Jose. Jose is an RN by day, which thank you for all of your service. And he is a self-proclaimed globetrotter, cultural diver, and proud Puerto Rican. And he's currently located in New York City. He's a travel content creator who I met on Clubhouse way back in the beginning of 2021. So it's good to be back here today so he can present all of his knowledge and expertise about Puerto Rico. So Jose, I'm going to go ahead and hand the floor over to you.
Sounds good. Hey, everyone. Hope everyone's doing all good. We're going to be talking about Puerto Rico today. Yes, the waves. So I'll share my screen and we'll dive straight into it. Let's see. All right, there we go. So a lot of people have heard about Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico is an amazing place to go to, but a lot of times we see pictures on the internet. It's a lot of like San Juan, which is amazing. You know, I applaud people for going to Puerto Rico. It's honestly a good time, but there's so much more to explore. So that's the whole point of today's presentation. I'm going to show you some like unique locations, very Instagrammable. Okay. So a bit about myself. My name is Jose. I'm a registered nurse. I also like to travel a lot, but I like to go to places that a lot of people tend to like overlook. So it's a lot of like hidden gems. And my whole thing is let's inspire people to get out there and explore. All right. So Puerto Rico is an amazing place to go. It's an amazing blend of three unique cultures. You got Spaniards, you got Native Americans as Tainos, and you got a lot of like the Africans that were brought over. So you get amazing food, amazing music, and just great culture. You got some of the best bars in the world. La Factoria is one of the top 50 in the whole world. Got the busiest airport in the entire Caribbean. Got the busiest seaport in the entire Caribbean. So a lot of people from all over the world come in. So a lot of people just stay in San Juan because it's beautiful, beautiful architecture. It's where the pina colada was invented, but there's so much more beyond that. So I'm going to be talking a bit about my last trip. It was back in May. I broke the trip down into 5 different days. And the way I moved about the island was I divided the island into regions. If you look at the red, that's my first day. Yellow is the second day. Green is my third day. And blue is my 4th day. And I spent the last day in the metro area. So I did East Coast, Central Mountain region, West Coast, North Coast. It's a good way to divide the island up because it's a lot to see, a lot to do. I didn't even have the whole time to explore as much as I wanted. So I got to do return trips, most definitely. So in order for this to happen, you really want to get deep into like the culture of the island, rent a car. If you want to save some money, don't rent straight from the airport, rent outside of the airport. There's a good place to book from. It's called Charlie Car Rental. If you're taking notes, Charlie's the place to go. Bring your own insurance from home so that way they could make it cheaper for you. You drive on the right-hand side. English is pretty well spoken on the island, but if you know Spanish, it's going to take you so much further. Puerto Ricans are very warm, welcoming people. If you speak the language, you're going to open so many doors with that. Gasoline is sold by the liter, not by the gallon. So understand that. Distances are in kilometers, but your speed, if you look at the speed limits, it's all in miles per hour. It's just things to think about. If you're going to be driving in the mountains, just be careful, take your time. If you're a more experienced driver, you'll be pretty comfortable. If you're relatively new to driving, take it slow. Don't rush. You're in the Caribbean, nice and easy. And if you're going to be putting some of these locations into your GPS, use Google Maps. Apple Maps will take you in the vicinity of the area, but Google Maps will take you right there. So use Google Maps when you're in Puerto Rico. All right. So I'm going to talk a bit about the food when you're in Puerto Rico, some of the things you might encounter. If you look at the upper right of your screen, you see those pouches. Those are kind of like adult Capri Suns. They're very cheap. They're about like $1 if you go to like gas stations. That's if you're looking for like some quick alcohol, you know, don't want to go to a bar, save money. I know a lot of us are on budgets. And that's called gasolina, very popular around the island. If you look on the bottom right of your corner, That's what you call an alcapurria. Basically what that is, I don't know if you guys are familiar with taro root from like the Pacific Islands. So they grind that up, get some green plantains, they grind that up, and you form like the masa, which is the encasing. And they add some seasonings to it, some spices. So you add some achote, which gives it kind of like that orangey color. And then they stuff it with like seasoned beef, and then they deep fry it. Very common around Puerto Rico, alcapurria, very cheap too, common street food. The two pictures in the center on the bottom, that's from one of the restaurants. Puerto Rico, no matter where you go, you're gonna find amazing food. You could even walk into random restaurants and you'll find good food. When I was in San Juan, I just randomly went into a restaurant because I didn't have any reservations anywhere. This one is called Semilla Kitchen and Bar. Food was phenomenal. Like, I was honestly amazed. Then in the bottom left of the corner, it just reminds me of my childhood. That's called limbel. So limbel, what it is you get cups and they're like flavored juices, and they sell all different types of flavors. Cherry, guanabana, which is soursop. They got passion fruit. They got some cream flavored ones, and they're very cheap. I bought this when I was over in San Juan, but you could find them all throughout the island. Sometimes if you knock on random doors, a lot of people will sell them. And it's good to know they're still relatively cheap. They're about 75 cents. When I was a young kid, I used to ask my parents for a quarter, and that's what I would just buy to keep myself cool on a hot day. Then in the upper left, very common for breakfast, that's called a Mallorca. If you think of a croissant, just think of it being a little bit thicker, more butterier, and you make a sandwich out of that, and it has powdered sugar on top. So when you're in Puerto Rico, one of the most common ways to have a Mallorca is get ham, cheese, and egg. Get that trio right there, you're set for the day. All right. So as soon as you land in Puerto Rico, where do you want to go, right? Doesn't matter if you're going to stay in San Juan, because this location is very close by. As soon as you land, you got to get that, that nostalgic food. You go to a neighborhood called Piñones in the town of Loíza. Loíza is the Afrocentric part of the island. It's one of the most highest Black populations on the entire island. And you go to places that are called chinchorros, which are like little shacks along the beach. And it's kind of like party style. You stop at one, you buy some food there, you get some drinks, you party a little bit, then you hop on to the next one. It's kind of like bar hopping in Puerto Rico. That's called chinchorreando. And you get seafood there and the common street foods, the comfort food of Puerto Rico. If you look on the left picture of your screen, you have ensalada de carrucho, which is conch salad. You're in the Caribbean, so conch is pretty common, which is it's a type of shellfish. And then if you look on the right, I got like a big, nice plate. That's a lobster tail stuffed with octopus. But if you look in the back of I don't know if you guys can see the arrow. Could you guys see the arrow? Yeah. All right. So this that I'm circling back here, that is mofongo. That's like one of the most popular dishes in Puerto Rico. It's basically mashed up plantains with garlic, and they sometimes stuff it with like different types of meats. Pork, you could get seafood, but it's amazingness. You have one, you're set, So the first day that I started traveling in Puerto Rico, I ended up going along the entire east coast of the entire island. My first stop was Naguabo, which is an eastern fishing town. I remember going there when I was a young kid, and the most common thing we would do is go to a malecón. So a malecón is like a waterside esplanade. So think of like a boardwalk, but it's not boards, it's cement. And there's a whole bunch of like little shacks that are blasting music. If you go on a Friday, Saturday, that's the best time to go. They're blasting music. You could get drinks, get some good street food there. And you would have a lot of like artisans lined up against along the water side. And you would buy like trinkets, buy some like the common typical Puerto Rican like candies. So like a lot of coconut candies. That's what you would get there. So it was just like very nostalgic to go there. And then one of the things that I discovered when I was there is there's an abandoned mansion that used to belong to a sugar factory owner. and it became like its own attraction over time. So I have like a little video there. So that mansion on the right-hand side, that actually belonged to the sugar factory owner, and it's right up against the water. They're working on preserving it right now. So they're like revitalizing it. So they kind of like gated it off, but that should be completed and you'll probably be able to go in and explore and everything. All right. So then after that, I stopped in the town that my family's from. It's called Maunabo, and the nickname for it is La Ciudad Hueyera. A huey in Puerto Rico is a crab, and my town is known for the crab. So it's called the Crab City. One of the most famous things is this lighthouse. It's called Punta Tuna. And it's so iconic because it's on a strip of land that juts out into the water, and it's like dramatic cliffs. And you look down, and that's like, when you look in the distance, that's pure Caribbean Sea. It's beautiful. And one of the things, if you look at the middle picture, if you follow that coast all the way down, you end up at a beach. One of the biggest things on social media now is black sand beaches. My town has one of the ones on the main island of Puerto Rico. The name of the beach, if you write it down, is Los Bohíos. So it's Bohios, Black Sand Beach. Okay. And this is just a quick view of the lighthouse right here. It's nothing but pure blue ocean out there. Okay. In my town, because of all this tourism that's been happening and people going to the Black Sand Beach, a lot of businesses have been developing. It was not like this when I was growing up as a young kid. It was very like village-like. You wouldn't even think it's like the rest of the island, because my town is kind of like secluded from the rest of the island by mountains. So it's like its own little pocket on the southeast corner of the island. It had more of like a Caribbean feel, like you would have like if you were to go to one of the Lesser Antilles. So like the Virgin Islands or like Antigua or something like that. And it was just very unique because it's been secluded from like the rest of the island. But another restaurant that's real good in this town is called Salmorejos. It's right in the middle, like near the town square. When you're making your way out of my town, Maunabo, and you're heading west along the route that I followed, when you're driving along the cliffs and you could look out and see the Caribbean Sea on your left-hand side, you're gonna see one of these restaurants. It's called Paisaje Curet. I used to go there a lot when I was a young kid, and we would get like guajitos. Guajitos are basically like pork stomach in like a tomato sauce. It sounds kind of weird, but yo, I'm telling you, it's delicious. They sell it in a cup and you just eat it. You don't even think you're eating like pork stomach. It's just amazing flavor. But one of my favorite things about this restaurant is you could get a table right by the window at the back of the restaurant. And while you're eating, all you have is pure Caribbean Sea views. So you get lunch and a view. Again, get some alcapurrias, very common street food, and get the pina colada, which is like the national drink of the island. Then another spot that's been blowing up on Instagram over the course of the last year is called La Curva del Árbol Renace, which means the curve of the tree reborn. It's in the town of Salinas. You're starting to head more interior into the island on the East Coast. So you're starting to get more into like the mountain area. When you're going up these like mountain roads, there's like a big curve right there. And it was nothing back in the days, but people have started to like beautify it. So they started putting up a lot of like Puerto Rican flags, put up benches, they painted it Puerto Rican, and they put a swing. I don't know if you guys have seen my reels, some of my followers, but this is the location of it. And it's been catching on with a lot of like American influencers. They're going to Puerto Rico specifically to the spot just to get on the swing. And when you look from the swing, you just see an amazing valley. It's just like vast when you look over the edge. And because Puerto Rico is under American influence now, it's under American jurisdiction. There's a lot of American influence. So a lot of extreme sports have been introduced into the island. So one of them is downhill skateboarding. So if you look on the left-hand side of your screen, there's a guy going down the hill super fast. the video does no justice to the speed this guy was coming at. Like while I was there, I was getting ready to take pictures of the tree, and then I hear like a big like rolling sound. I'm like, what is that? Like something coming down quick. So I just turned around, and with my camera, I was able to catch the guy. I was like, oh my gosh. Hopefully this guy does not fall off the skateboard. But it's insane. Hey, extreme skateboarding. All right. So to finish off the night of the East Coast, I ended up going a little bit more interior in the East Coast. It's a town called Calle, but specifically go to the neighborhood called Guabate. Guabate is known in Puerto Rico and also in the States as La Ruta del Lechon, which translates roughly to the pork highway. If you love pork, roast pork, go here. There's so many restaurants and shacks that sell roasted pork. You get like the pork high, pork tongue, pork ear, pork tail, and a bunch of other foods as well. But pork is the king. Like you could even get morcilla when you hear. If you're familiar with like black pudding, that's basically very similar to it. It's basically like the pig intestine filled with like pig blood and like pieces of like rice. They season it all up. It sounds weird like you're eating blood, but yo, it tastes amazing. Like you wouldn't even know it when you're actually eating it. This specific restaurant that I went to is called Alavera, Alavera. And the thing I really loved about this restaurant slash bar is like it sits on a cliff. You could get seating, and they have like swings up against like I guess like a railing. So you could put your plate on the railing. You're sitting in swings, very like Instagrammable, and you look out and you're looking into the countryside. And one of the most nostalgic things about being in Puerto Rico that you don't get out here in the States at nighttime when you're in the countryside, all you hear is the coqui just chirping. So the coqui, what that is a small tree frog, and they're nocturnal. So at night, you just hear them go, cookie, cookie, cookie. And it's amazing. So I'm going to pause the video as I play it, just so I can show you some of the dishes we have. So that right there, if you guys have been to Jamaica, there's like a corn type fritter called a festival. In Puerto Rico, we got something very similar. It's called sorullo. So that's made out of like corn, and they just fry it. And then that little cup that has like that pinkish looking sauce, that's what you call mayo ketchup, which is basically like mayonnaise and ketchup and like seasonings put together. So you could dip that into. Let me see. And then right there, if you look at those like little fried chunks, that's fried cheese. And in that cup, you got some guava sauce. It's just like a little appetizer. You get the cheese with the guava, tastes amazing. And there you go. Those are the swings, and you look out into the countryside. This is at the restaurant called Alavera. Pretty cool. All right. So then the next day, it was all about going into the central region of the island. This is the mountainous part of the island. I started off the day by going to a town called Ajunta, and it's a location called Casa Bandera and El Puente Colgante. Puente Colgante means the hanging bridge. And this place looks very artistic, very Instagrammable, which it really, really is. I even had a reel there, and people were like, whoa, this is so nice, so colorful. But the story behind it is one of resilience. Basically, this location, if you look underneath the bridge, there's like a stream, a river. And back in 1998, I think it was Hurricane George, came through, and the one bridge that connected the houses to the towns and the grocery stores collapsed during the hurricane. So as part of like their ingenuity and resourcefulness, the people who lived on the other side of the river decided to build a hanging bridge just to be able to go across, just to go into town to buy some groceries and bring it back. And that, that kept them alive, at least until like FEMA and government assistance came along to build a new bridge. And even after they built the new road bridge, they kept it. And the people who made the bridge were like, all right, we're gonna keep this, and we're just gonna paint it. And now it's like a real nice like tourist attraction if you decide to go there. All right. The next town is called Jayuya. This is probably the most patriotic town in the entire island. It's named after a cacique called Hayuya. A cacique is the Taino chiefs. And right front and center, you got this very colorful staircase. And if you look on the side, on the left-hand side of each of those steps, it got the names of the different towns, barrios in Puerto Rico that have Taino names. So it's a big homage to like the Taino culture there. If you look in the upper right-hand corner in the same town, along one of the streams, there's a place called La Piedra Escrita, which means the written rock. And if you look very closely at the rock, you see the Taino petroglyphs. So the Tainos used to communicate with their deities through these petroglyphs. And since I had like Taino blood, I just felt like a spiritual connection right there. It was amazing. If you want to get to know more about the patriotism in Puerto Rico and how they wanted to become independent, look on the bottom right hand of your screen. You got a house. It's called Casa Canale. And in there, they talk about like one of the uprisings that happened in Puerto Rico. This happened in like the 1950s. Unfortunately, it ended in a massacre, but there they still have like art, like written diaries of like the revolutionaries who lived in Puerto Rico at that time in that house. They have like the weapons that they had, like the pistols and the rifles. And they also had like the currency that they were ready to issue in Puerto Rico had Puerto Rico actually became independent after that movement. So it's real cool to look at. And then in the upper left-hand corner on the same grounds as Casa Canales, you have the Semi Museum. A Semi is basically the deity of the Tainos. So if you look, get the area, this right here, that stone-looking figure back there, that's actually the building, the museum in the shape of a semi. You go inside, you get to learn about Taino culture. They have like a lot of like Taino artifacts there. And you learn some of the Taino languages, like some of the words that they actually used to use. So real cool spot to go to if you want to learn more about Taino culture and also Native American culture throughout the Americas. Let's go to the next one. All right. The next spot is deep in the mountains. It's in a town called Utuado. It's called El Cañón Blanco, which is the White Canyon. And if you look at the picture, you could clearly tell why it's called the White Canyon. You got these giant white rocks and a river flowing through it. It's very Instagrammable. You got white rocks, blue water, green all around you. And it's just mind-blowing how beautiful this place is. It's very hard to get to though. Use Google Maps. And even using Google Maps, it's going to be a little tricky. So ask the locals. And you just say Cañón Blanco. Like everyone gets lost in the area. So they'll just like point you exactly where to go. But this place is perfect for hikers and swimmers. If you could hike, there's a spot that got graffitied up, a big boulder. It's kind of like as a Rubik's Cube, a real nice Instagrammable spot. And then if you could swim, which I unfortunately can't swim, there's a rock. If you swim up the river in between the white walls, you're gonna come across this big boulder in the shape of like a clamshell. It's called El Sofá, the couch. I think of it as a throne. And the reason why is because like I could pretty much imagine like the Little Mermaid just sitting there, and you could just like take a picture there. Boom, real nice photo opportunity. So that's in Utuado. And then I ended up going all the way up to the north coast of the island that same day. It's a town called Barceloneta, and there's a baseball stadium. Baseball stadium. We're gonna drink a little bit of water. 1 second. So there's the wall of a baseball stadium, and the town actually commissioned this one young girl. I think she's like 19 now. So she was like 17, 18 at the time, to just paint a whole bunch of like wings along the baseball stadium. So some of these pictures that you might have seen on my Instagram is from this location. The name of the girl is Angelica Noelia, and she's real cool. Like I've even had a conversation with her. She's very, very humble, very nice. But if you're in Barceloneta, one of the locations I wasn't able to go to, there's like storage mills. Think of like a windmill without the turbines. That's where they used to store the grain back in the day. There's one that's pretty famous there. It's called a Molino de Barceloneta. And on it has, on the door, there's the Puerto Rican flag, but just swap out the red and the blue for yellow and tan. So I was actually planning to go there. That's why I had the yellow shirt and the tan pants to go there to take a picture. But by the time I ended up going, the gates were closed, so I wasn't able to go in. But maybe that's a picture you guys might be able to go to and get and explore around the area. So then the next day I wanted to explore the entire West Coast. So I started off in South Central Puerto Rico. One of the biggest towns is called Ponce, and it's called La Ciudad de Leones because it was named after Juan Ponce de Leon, one of the famous Spanish explorers. So that building right behind me is probably one of the most iconic on the entire island. It's called Parque de Bomba. It's the first fire station on the entire island of Puerto Rico. It's still standing. It was completed in 1883. It was originally meant to be used for like as a convention center, but then it just turned into a fire station. Today it's a museum. They have some of those antique fire trucks from back in the day. It's real cool. It's a big photo op right there. And then right where Parque de Bombas is right in the town plaza. It's called Plaza La Delicia. And a lot of beautiful fountains are there and a lot of like lion statues. And then you got the Cathedral of Our Lady of Guadalupe. You get a little bit of the scene of what like a typical town in Puerto Rico looks like. But Ponce has so much to offer. We could definitely talk about it. Like after the presentation, I don't want to get too short on time. Probably one of the most Instagrammable locations you could go to in Puerto Rico is a town called Yauco. Very colorful, very vibrant. Basically, this town has been rocked by like a lot of like natural disasters, hurricanes, earthquakes, and in a way to bring to have a resurgence in the economy there, they employed a lot of like different muralists from all over Puerto Rico, all over the world to come in and paint like the entire neighborhood. So you'll find a lot of like beautiful murals all throughout the island. This specific location is called Nomadic, and I first saw it in the music video. I was like, I have to go there and I have to put like my own touch on it. So that's the picture I got, me doing like a semi handstand, like a break dancer. And it's, just keep it on your radar if you love art. So as you leave Yauco and you keep heading west on the island, I don't know if you guys know about windward side, leeward side of the island. So basically this is the dry side of Puerto Rico. It's not like the rest of Puerto Rico where it's pretty humid. This is actually pretty dry and the temperature is definitely a lot hotter out there. They even have in this town called Guanica, it's called a dry forest. It's kind of like a desert. You see cactus everywhere. You got cotton plants out there, like a lot of dry, vegetation grows out there. But this place, the reason why I decided to stop here is because it has one of the largest sunflower fields that I've ever been to. And it's called Finca Girasol, the sunflower farm. If you Google sunflower farm in Puerto Rico, I could almost guarantee this is the place that's gonna come up. So if you like sunflowers, come here. It only costs like about like $2 to have an entrance into it. Then after that, I ended up going to Cabo Rojo. It's actually pretty common amongst like a lot of Americans. They go for like vacation here, and I could see why. It has some of the most beautiful beaches on the entire island. You got Playa Combate, Playa Buye, and you got Playa Sucia, all there. Some of the most famous beaches on the island are all located in Cabo Rojo. And like I said, if you look on the bottom left, you got a cactus. You look on the bottom right, that's a cotton plant right there. But other locations that I didn't get pictures of here in Cabo Rojo, there's like a lighthouse, very famous. And near the lighthouse, they have a natural rock bridge, forms like an arch. And back in the day, you could actually walk across that natural bridge. I don't recommend it now. There's been a lot of earthquakes, so they're saying that the rock is very unstable. So just be careful if you decide to go there. I wouldn't recommend it, but get like pictures at sunset. Be absolutely amazing. And then the centerpiece of this picture is La Salina, which is like the salt water. This is where they use, where they extract some of the salt in Puerto Rico. So I know a lot of people have been going to these pink water locations in Mexico, Colombia, and Senegal. You don't even need a passport and you could get it right there in Puerto Rico. All right. As you head up north along the West Coast, if you love rooftop bars and you love cocktails, stop at this location. It's called Alte. It's called Aguadilla Rooftop Experience. You're right on the beach, on a rooftop, customized cocktails, amazing. You just go there. If you go during brunch time, you're perfectly set up. They bring DJs and everything. It's a good time, especially during brunch. Then if you go into a town called San Sebastian on the West Coast, this is probably one of the most famous waterfalls on the entire island. It's called Gozalandia. It's amazing to look at. It costs about $10 just to drive in and park your car there, and you're free to be in there the entire day. This is the main waterfall, but if you hike like another 10 minutes through like through the forest, you get to the secondary waterfall. Not as many people there, and you have it like all to yourself. After that, along the north coast, I stopped in a town called Isabela, and I stopped there. This location is called La Cara del Indio, which means the face of the Indian. And this is actually a bust that was like carved into the wall of Cacique Mabo Damaca. It's a story of like not accepting like to be conquered. So basically, this cacique used to go to war with the Spaniards in Puerto Rico, and instead of facing defeat and submitting to the Spaniards, he and a bunch of other Tainos decided to go to like the northern coast of Puerto Rico and just jump off the cliff because they would rather die than be defeated. And there's a legend that says he had a gold pendant. That gold pendant has never been found. So maybe you find it along the north coast. And then on the bottom right, you have a picture of the tunnel. It's called Túnel de Oaxaca. And that's back during the industrialization of Puerto Rico, was a tunnel where like the train would pass by to transport goods along the entire north coast of the island. If you like extreme sports, there's Toro Verde and Orocovi, and it has the second longest zip line in the entire world. You could go up to 90 miles an hour. It's about like 7,000 feet long. Like even during the picture, you can't even see where the zip line ends. And it has the longest bicycle tightrope in the world, like even longer than the ones in like Costa Rica. So the name of this location is Toro Verde, and the town of Orocovi is about 45 minutes outside of San Juan. So it's pretty easy to get to. All right. And then I want to just leave two different restaurants for you guys to have on your radar. There's Santa Ella. It's one of the most famous restaurants on the entire island. A lot of celebrities go there. I was able to get reservations during opening weekend. I really lucked out. Yeah. So the food is amazing. And the drinks are just like top notch. So keep it on your radar. If you could get reservations there, try to get reservations at least a month in advance. Another place I want you guys to keep in your radar, if you are in the San Juan area, it's outside of San Juan. It's in the town of Carolina in the neighborhood of Isla Verde. It's called Miss Rooftop. It's in the San Juan Beach Hotel. Take the elevator all the way to the top and you get amazing views, amazing cocktails. Go during brunch. I think that's where like the location really like shines. And you got good cocktails and amazing views of like the beachfront right there. And then last but not least, outside of San Juan, it's still in the metro area, but it's outside of San Juan. It's a town called Cataño. It's the smallest town on the entire island. They have another malecón there, which is like a whole being up against like a river walk, water walk. If you look on the bottom center of the screen, you have a pink bridge. I know Paris has like the Lovelock Bridge. That's the Lovelock Bridge right there in Puerto Rico. If you look on the left, frappes have become more common around the island. And you got empanadillas as well. So they sell them in pizza flavor, pork flavor, chicken flavor, any type you want. Then if you look on the right-hand side of your screen, you got piraguas. So it's a big block of ice. They shave it, they throw it in a cup, and then they grab syrup, like flavored syrup, and you get any flavor you want. So I got tamarind and I got guava flavor right there. Nice way to cool off when you're in the heat of Puerto Rico. And then I just want to say thank you for inviting me to share a little bit of my island. I know we're kind of like short on time. There's so much to explore in Puerto Rico. This doesn't even begin to scratch the surface. Like I really feel like you need like a whole month in Puerto Rico just to get like a good feel of like a lot of the hidden gems that are out there. Such a big island. But thank you to Nomadic Network for inviting me out here, and I look forward to connecting with the audience members in the future.
Awesome. Thank you, Jose. Actually, I know we had some questions in the audience about some of the foods. Do you want to go back to the food slide at the beginning and maybe do you mind repeating them and maybe dropping how they're spelled like in the chat?
In the chat? Yeah, absolutely.
That'd be awesome.
I got you right now.
Dude, the pictures, incredible.
Thank you. Shoot, I went a little bit too quick. There we go. All right, let me bring the chat up. All right, so in the upper right, I'm going to drop it into the chat. Upper right, you have Gasolina, which are like adult Capri Suns. It's a brand that they sell in Puerto Rico. Gasolina. There we go. That's the name of the brand. They're super cheap. You could buy like a 10-pack in Walmart for like under $10, like $9, $8, super cheap. Bottom right, you have an alcapurria. Basically what it is, we call it yautía in Puerto Rico. You could also call it malanga, but in English, I guess the Pacific Islands have the similar root. It's called taro root. So it's ground taro, plantain as an encasing. And then inside you have like seasoned beef with seasoned beef. So alcapurria, okay? If you want the name of the restaurant on the bottom, it's called Semilla Kitchen and Bar. It's in Santurce, which is a neighborhood of San Juan. And it's crazy because when I went, everything needed reservations and it was still like the 10 o'clock curfew. So, and there was so many tourists at the time I went. I felt like Puerto Rico really had a like touristic boom when I went, but everyone stayed in San Juan. So I ended up finding this just by walking along like the side streets, not even on the main streets. And I was surprised. It was one of the best meals I had on my entire like week that I was there. So that's the bottom left. This is very nostalgic of my childhood. I know a couple of people in the audience are Puerto Ricans. It's called limber. They sell them in many different flavors. They used to be $1 when I was a little kid. They're still super cheap. I think they're like 75 cents now. And that one I actually bought in San Juan. If you look at a map of El Viejo San Juan, the old San Juan neighborhood, go all the way towards the tip, more towards like the northern side. It's near the sun. If you Google San Juan Gate, which is where like the colonialists used to walk into the city from, go up the hill to the left, go straight ahead. There's the colonial building that has like it looks like a tree with purple flowers on it. Underneath that tree, there's a window. Go up to the window and say, excuse me, like if you don't know Spanish, excuse me, or in Spanish, you can say, con permiso, and then someone's gonna, just give him like about 2 minutes. The guy's a little bit elderly. He'll come up to the window and he's like, what flavor would you like? And then you just tell him what flavor you want, and he got you right there. So that's limber, very nostalgic of when I was a young kid in Puerto Rico. And then the other one, top left, very common breakfast sandwich. It's called a Mallorca. And it's very similar to like a croissant, but thicker and more butterier with powdered sugar on top. And you can get it like any sandwich. Ham, cheese, and egg is very common. So that's some of the food. And then I think I showed like other stuff from the island. Oh, I remember. Let me pull up the chat. Chat, and here we go. Right here, you got the ensalada de carrucho. Carucho, which is conch salad. Boom. Oh, nope. It autocorrects even in Spanish. Carucho. There you go. And it's conch salad.
Yeah.
And then you got mofongo, which is like the most common dish in Puerto Rico. It's ground plantain, garlic, and then topped with a choice of meat. And the thing is, Puerto Rico is very adaptive, especially since there's like it's under American influence. They've learned a lot from the Americans, so there's more vegan choices as well. You could have it just straight vegetarian, just plantain, with meats. So it's seafood, pork, whatever you want to put on it. Did I have any other food on here?
What was the bar you said one of the top bars in the US or in the world is in San Juan?
Yes.
I want to know the name of that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's right in Old San Juan. It's called La Factoria. Did it pop up? Yeah, it popped up on the chat.
Ooh.
So it's right in Old San Juan. So
all right. Is anyone else like I'm literally in Google Maps right now, like favoriting these places as you're saying them? I'm like Limbers. It looks really good, by the way.
Yeah, Limber.
La Factoria.
La Factoria. Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
There 2 weeks ago. It's beautiful there. It's like one of the top bars in the world.
Yeah, top 50 in the world.
Salsa dancing. And there's three bars combined into one.
Mm-hmm. And you guys know the music video Despacito?
Yeah.
Filmed right there.
That's so cool. Yes. Not that they need more fame, right? But they're like,
hey.
Okay. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Jose, for taking us through all of the food and spelling everything out. I'm going to go ahead. I see Sachin. I hope I pronounced your name right. I know you have your hand raised. I'm going to start with some of the questions, Jose, because we got a lot of really good ones, especially about logistics. So John wants to know, what's the best time of year to visit? And are there any times of year to avoid? Like a hurricane season or something.
So hurricane season, you already know, is like during the summertime. Mm-hmm. Avoid August, September. But if you want to go to my town for that crab festival, it's literally first week of September, last week of August. Very good time to go is in January. Go for this festival called La Sanse, which is short for Festival de San Sebastián. It's kind of like similar. It's just like big parties in the streets, literally like the entire time when you're there. January is a good time. February is a very good time to go, but that's also when a lot of like people go. So hotel prices are going to be insane if you go during that time. Oh, there you go. Like, yeah, you just wrote it. You spelled it right? No,
yeah, okay,
yeah, cool. La Sanse. Yeah. If you want to do carnival, like instead of going to some of the other Caribbean islands, we have carnival in Puerto Rico. Go to Ponce, which is where I had the firehouse, the checkered boarded building, and they have the carnival there. And in Puerto Rico, our touch is we have a vejigante, which is kind of like a demon looking thing with horns, goes along in the streets, just like slapping people up. But it's parties in the street all the time. Real good.
Awesome. Yeah, it sounds like almost every tropical place where you avoid the summer in North America and then you go during like our winter.
Yes. Right? Perfect. Yeah.
Cool.
That's typical Caribbean.
Yeah, Caribbean. It's like that in like the Philippines and like some parts of Thailand too. Like I think it's that like belt across the world, you know.
Yeah, avoid the hurricanes and the cyclones and everything.
Mm-hmm,
yes.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Okay, so Susan had a question about any ideas for lodging and like what you did on your trip, or where you recommend people look.
Okay. So when I went, like I said, there was like a big boom of like tourists coming from the States. Because of the whole COVID situation, it was like one of the few places you could get to. Hotel prices were ridiculously expensive. A lot of people do Airbnbs, and a lot of people say the Airbnbs in Puerto Rico blow out a lot of the hotels out of the water. So if you do Airbnb, you'll get cheaper and amazing. Just be aware of what neighborhoods you go to. for the most part, the entire island, I say like 98% of it, yo, you're good. You book anywhere, you'll be safe. But just be smart about where you're booking, read reviews. I personally stayed in 4 different hotels. Like I said, I broke the trip up into different regions. I think that's a smart thing to do if you're going to explore certain regions of the island. My first night, just because I wanted a close place to stay, I stayed in Tropica Beach Hotel, very boutique, kind of chic. It's right in Santurce. You want me to drop it in the chat?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. Okay, I'll drop it in here. Tropica.
And also, yes, we will be sending the slides out for those that can't see the chat for whatever reason. I just dropped it in that we will be sending the slides out by end of week.
All right, so that's Tropica. Then when I explored the center part of the island, I stayed in Ponce at the Aloft Hotel. For some reason, the Aloft Hotel seems to be like some of the cheapest options. I have no idea why. So it's right in the town of Ponce. They actually had a travel festival there with a lot of local Puerto Rican travel bloggers last weekend, and they were inviting me to go out. I was just like, I got to go to work on Monday, so I can't make my way out there. But a lot of people were asking for me. So that's in Ponce. The other place I stayed, it was actually pretty affordable and suite style. It's the Hyatt Place. I stayed in the Hyatt Place in a town called Manatí. And then for the time I spent in San Juan, I stayed at another Hyatt Place, and it's literally called Hyatt Place San Juan. And I'll put that in the chat. Hyatt Place San Juan.
Nice. And how long was your whole entire trip back in May, Jose?
5 full days. I arrived the day before in the evening. That's why when I went to Piñones, I told you, as soon as I got the car, go straight to Piñones. Like that's how nostalgic it is. I arrived late at night. So I just went there, got some food, and then I went to the hotel, and then I started exploring the next day. And then on the last day, we had an 11 a.m. flight. So 5 days and change, basically.
Okay, great. Let's see, P. Thorwarth. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Wants to know if you have any suggestions about finding a walking tour of San Jose.
San Jose or San Juan?
Sorry, San Juan.
San Juan? Okay.
San Jose was typed, so I was reading off of it, but San Juan, yeah. Like, did you do any walking tours while you were there?
So everything I did on my own. Like usually when I travel, even to other countries, I rent a car and I explore. Like I let loose. There's a guy who I met through YouTube who's real cool, and he gets a lot of like American clientele. His name, I don't know his real name, but you can find him on Instagram and on YouTube. It's this Dongo PR. Look him up on Instagram. You could even search him on YouTube. A real nice guy. I even helped him connect with some lady who asked me questions about Puerto Rico a couple months ago, and he hooked it up. Like he was able to find a driver in San Juan for that like entire weekend. So if you guys send him a message, he should be able to hook it up for you. But in terms of like actual tours, I can't really speak on that.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah. No, that's a good recommendation. Thank you. Okay, Sachin, did you want to, I guess you can go ahead and unmute, or if you want to drop your question in the chat.
Hey, Jose, thanks so much for all the information.
Yeah, anytime.
I'm coming to Puerto Rico Thanksgiving weekend and the week after. So
okay.
End of November, beginning of December. Any specific recommendations for that time? And also because it'll be a little cooler, I guess, and all that stuff. And also, so you're saying a car is mandatory to really explore Puerto Rico?
If you're going throughout the island, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Uber just doesn't, you're not going to go from place to place on the island.
There's not buses or stuff like that going?
There might be, but I can't really speak on that.
Okay.
Renting a car though is like the best way to go. You're going around Thanksgiving time. Perfect. Yo, welcome to the Puerto Rican holidays. La Navidad is what we call it. So that's basically from Thanksgiving up until La Sanse, which is like the end of like the Christmas season for us. You're gonna be eating good. You're gonna be seeing, you might even start seeing some like pajaranda. That's more like in December, but you might even start seeing some of that. So pajaranda is like, it doesn't really happen as much nowadays, but it's more common in like the country parts of the island. Once you leave San Juan, basically it's like caroling, and people come out with the tambourines and drums and everything. That's real cool. I feel like every town has a festival like every month all throughout the island. I think there's like 78 different towns. I don't know who's having a festival around that time, but you go, you got to eat some patele. I'll put it in. This is very common, like holiday foods for us. Oh, of course, get coquito. You're gonna find coquito everywhere. That's the coconut alcoholic drink that we have. Super sweet, real good. Cinnamon too. Patele. The way I could describe a patel is like a tamal. It gets wrapped in a tamale. It gets wrapped in a banana leaf, gets cooked. It's made out of plantain. I'm trying to think. It might have like another root as like the encasing. Usually it's pork inside, and people eat it either with ketchup or like hot sauce. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, you answered my question. One last question I had was, I want to go to see the famous bioluminescence in Vasquez. That's one of the
in Vieques. Yeah.
One of the famous in the world. Any recommendations about going over there for the bioluminescence?
So to get to Vieques, you're gonna have to either take one of the small planes over, or you're gonna have to take the ferry out of like Fajardo to go over there.
Okay.
I didn't do the bioluminescent in Vieques, but that's the brightest in the entire world. Puerto Rico has 3 out of like the 6 in the whole world. The one I went to is the one in La Cabeza de San Juan. That's in Luquillo. But it's real cool. I would say bring shorts. If you're gonna bring shoes, don't wear white shoes like I did, like a fool. Bring clothes that you're not afraid to like probably toss out if you're not able to wash them, because the lagoons smell. What else? You're gonna have a good time, for real. It's kayaking. They're gonna explain to you exactly how to like kayak. It's a good time.
Okay, thank you so much. Muchas gracias.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Sachin. Okay, I see 2 other people have their hands raised, so I'll let you go as long as no one's talking over each other. So iPhone, you can go ahead and unmute and ask your question.
Hi, I guess I'm iPhone, perhaps.
Yes, iPhone.
Jose, how are you? I've been to Puerto Rico a few times. I'm working on a photo series there, having to do with the economic crisis at the time. So I've been to most of these places, but I wanted to ask you, I can't remember, there's this place, it's a great takeaway joint. I think it's off the 285. It's right between Viejo San Juan and Condado.
Okay.
And it's like, it's right under the highway, and it's all locals. And I've been there a few times where you just go and pretty much take out, and you can get, it's all like family food. I can't remember the name, but you could like you wait outside, and then you pick everything up, and then you go home.
I might have the place wrong. Are you talking about Lote 23, lot 23?
Well, that's the thing. I can't remember the name, but it's right. It's under the highway.
Mm-hmm.
You turn right off. It kind of looks. You're from New York, Roland Roaster down in Brooklyn?
No, not familiar with it.
Oh, okay. That's the South Brooklyn institution. Okay. The same color scheme. It looks the same. It's takeaway, and you can get, pig ears. You get like, and my partner at the time, his family is from Puerto Rico. They have houses in the mountains and whatnot. So when we would go there, we would always like pass through, and I can't remember I can picture it because I drive a lot there. I drive more there than I do in New York. So I could get there. I just can't remember the name. And we found out about it just in a cab driver, because we were not in the mood to take the bus from Condado to San Juan and back. Oh, but it's right under the overpass, and I could picture it. And I know if I was like in the car driving, it's right past the port. with all the cruise ships.
Yeah, I know the area. I just don't know the specific place.
It's
Yeah,
one of those
it's
places where it's next to a McDonald's. I know it's next to a McDonald's.
yeah. Nah, I'm not gonna know because I rarely spend time in San Juan. I'm very country when it comes to like Puerto Rico. I usually go like am in my town or in some of the like outer towns.
Yeah, I've been to most of the places that you covered. I learned some good things though, so thank you. I just
Yeah.
want to know. I can ask my friend Lorraine because she and I went there, and
If you
I want to take my partner when we go next year probably.
Yeah, absolutely. If you find out, just send me a DM on Instagram. I'm willing to check it out.
Oh, definitely. No, it's great. It's one of these no phones. You go and it's mostly
Mhm.
takeout. They have a few benches outside, and it's next to a McDonald's. And you go in there, and that's the place where the families go on a Friday night when mommy doesn't want to cook dinner,
Okay.
and it's really amazing. I mean, I'm not a pork eater,
Uh-huh.
but when I go to Puerto Rico, I eat pork.
Yeah, absolutely. Got to.
You have to. But yeah, no, I was
Yeah.
just wondering if you could think about it because it's a little too late to call my friend Lorraine because
Mhm.
she does a lot of like call to action, like in like Puerto Rican independence stuff. And she goes back there. We go back together.
Nice.
But yeah, she does a lot of work. So I just figured while I had you here, but thank you so much because there were a
Yeah.
whole bunch of things that I didn't know or I haven't gotten to see because I'm so busy working when I go there.
Yeah, anytime. I'm always happy to spread some knowledge,
All right, cool. Thank you so much. I really
Yes.
appreciate it.
All right, we'll connect later.
Definitely. All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. All right, Chris, do you want to unmute and ask your question?
I do. Thanks so much. I can't wait to go. Do you have any safety advice for solo female travelers that may want to go? I mean, anything that crosses your mind to
Okay.
avoid, or times to avoid, or areas?
Yeah. All right. If you're around like outside of like San Juan, just common travel sense is a good one. Don't be flashy. If someone is persistent about like asking for money or anything, say no, thank you, and just go about your way. They'll eventually give up. Like they'll give up once they know that you're like real like firm that you don't want it, like to like give money or anything. You're good to go. If you're in the metro area, so like San Juan, Bayamon, Carolina, there's certain neighborhoods. If there's not that many people there, you probably want to avoid it. If there's crowds and stuff like that, you should be good. Because people are, of course, they're gonna avoid like the bad areas that they know. When it comes specifically to being like a female, it's hard for me to speak of it. Like, of course, I put myself in the mind frame. Like, if I'm there with my girlfriend, like, where do I not want my girlfriend to go? But I wish I had my girlfriend here with me, and she'll be able to give you like more of the female perspective, because there's a lot of things that, yeah, I think safety, but I know a lot of things are more specific to women, and I have to be cognizant of that. But
No, but I appreciate the suggestions. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just helpful to have a little bit of I mean, obviously, you're right. You have to have your wits about you anywhere you go in the world. So
right.
I just wondered. Thanks so much.
Oh, I do have one, because I know a lot of tourists go into San Juan. When you're in San Juan, La Perla, if you go with someone you trust, you should be okay there. However, do not pull out your phone. Literally, as you're walking into that neighborhood, I know like it's been getting more popular with tourists to go into because of the music videos and everything, and it looks beautiful when you look at it. But you got to understand, it's a rough neighborhood. When you're walking in through the tunnels, because it's separated from like the rest of San Juan, if you decide to go there. I've never been in there, but if you decide to go in there, there's graffiti on the walls, and it literally says, do not pull out your phone. Like, these people have a certain lifestyle. You got to respect it. It's the same thing as if you're out here in New York and you decide to go to certain neighborhoods. You just gotta know the rules of the neighborhood. If you decide to go there. I personally don't recommend it unless you go with someone you trust from there. But just understand the rules if you do decide to venture into that area.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Can't wait.
You're welcome. Have a good time there.
I think that's a good rule of thumb. Like, don't pull out your phone and like anywhere on a busy street, you know, motorcyclists can come and like snatch it up. And a rule that I always go, because I solo female traveler also,
Okay.
I usually take a business card of wherever I'm staying or like a photo of the like address in case you can't communicate in the local language. Obviously, it helps to learn a few words or sentences of wherever you're going. I usually tell other people my plans, the ones that I know, just so that they have a vague idea of where I am as well. I know not everyone has someone they can tell their plans to, but if you do, I highly recommend it. All right. So I recommend not pulling your phone for going. I just don't really pull out my phone like in the middle of anywhere busy or a place that I don't really speak the language. Like, I'm not flashy about pulling my iPhone 13 out. Like it's worth a lot of money, and it's
absolutely.
Yeah, you just want to like protect your belongings. There's a saying in Colombia that's no dar papaya, like don't give people something to like, I don't know, take
Don't
from
make
you.
yourself a target.
Yeah, don't make yourself a target. No jewelry.
Yeah.
Even when I go to the Philippines, my dad's
Mhm.
like, don't wear jewelry, don't wear a ton of makeup, like bring extra soap. I'm like, what?
Don't bring attention to yourself.
Exactly.
Basically.
Yeah.
But
like,
that I feel like that's applicable like anywhere in the world, like even out here in
Anywhere.
New York, you know. Like I'm not gonna go into certain neighborhoods like being all flashy, you know.
mhm,
If
mhm.
I do decide to be in a certain neighborhood and I'm gonna walk there, I'm usually with someone who is from that neighborhood and understands how the whole environment works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, Jose, I had one more
Uh-huh.
question I wanted to get answered from Amanda. Do you
Uh-huh.
have any recommendations on travel spots for families? Amanda will be traveling with a 2.5-year-old.
Okay, 2.5 year old. Mayagüe is real good. It's you could use that. It's
Do you want to
more
spell that
affordable.
in the
Yeah,
chat? Yeah.
it's more affordable than Rincon. Um, there we go. That's if you want to stay, but really, especially if you're like an American tourist, Rincon is the name of the town. Rincon is very popular amongst surfers. There's it's a lot of surfing out there. You could do a lot of the shacks got a lot of like seafood out there, a lot of good drinks, a lot of bars. However, you said family travel, like beach. I feel like beaches in general, as long as you're not like at a place that's, you know, for the most part, beaches are tame places to go as a whole family. Rincon got a lot of like nice resorts too that you could probably go to if you feel more comfortable in that family environment. They also have a zoo in that town, Mayagüe. So that's something to look out for. There's also, I didn't talk about it here, but there's places called like Miradore. So there's one, it's at the top of a hill. Basically what that means is like a lookout point. And it's kind of like a watchtower. You could walk all the way to the top and then you get like amazing views of the city. Also, if you go to, it's not that far from Rincon, is what town is it? It's in Aguada. Let me put that in here. Aguada. It's a town that's starting a whole initiative very similar to Yauco, which is the one that I showed that was very colorful with the murals and everything. So kids will definitely enjoy that. But Rincon is a good place to be. You could go to Cabo Rojo, which is where I had the pink water. That's also a real nice spot. A lot of Americans go down there, and a lot of nice restaurants too. Kid friendly. Ponce has some museums that are very nice. Like I said, Ponce is such a large city. You could probably spend an entire vacation there. What is it called? It's like a Japanese garden. It's the only Japanese garden in Puerto Rico. It's in Ponce. I just ended up putting it there. And on those same grounds, they also have like this large cross that you could like take the elevator to, and you see the entire city from the top of that cross. If you're in San Juan, that's basically where everyone goes to. You got beaches, a lot of good restaurants. It's a nice, relaxing environment. If you just stay in like Condado, which is where like a lot of tourists go. There's a big, what is it called? Water park. It's in Fajardo. If you connect with me on Instagram, I'll be able to give you the exact name and the exact location of it. One of the people that I'm cool with in Puerto Rico ended up going there, shot like an entire video while out there. It's real cool. Big water park in Fajardo. Let me write that down. And that's actually near where one of the bioluminescent bay is, but you have like a 2-year-old, so it's kind of hard to kayak with a 2-year-old in the middle of a lagoon. So I wouldn't recommend doing that with a 2-year-old. Hopefully that helps. I could always give more suggestions, but just shoot me a DM and I'll go into more stuff in detail.
Awesome. Yeah, I dropped Jose's Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok on in the chat as well. A few people were saying or asking if there were any other ways, like email, to contact you, Jose, that weren't on social media, but that's totally up to you.
I'll drop one.
Okay.
I don't check my emails every day, so that's why I say like DMing me on Instagram might be the best because I get the notifications on my phone. If I have notifications on my email, forget it. My phone is gonna be dead all day. What is it? Just Jose 2020 at gmail.com. Let me just double check, make sure that that's actually the email I have.
These are great. I also have another tip for everyone. I know there's a lot of recommendations in the chat. So if you're on desktop and you want to save the recommendations, and obviously what Jose spelled out and wrote in the chat, if you're on desktop, go to the bottom right hand corner of the Zoom chat. There's 3 dots. Click it and select save chat to this computer. Save chat. And it will save the chat to your computer. So then you have the text version of everything everyone said in the whole chat from the whole past hour. It's like the best Zoom hack ever.
How do I access it later on?
Oh my gosh, it saves it to a random folder.
Oh, okay. So I'm just gonna look through all my folders and
yeah, I think it saves it to a Zoom folder, but I think it usually saves it as like meeting text, something like that. Like the title is like a default meeting text. But yeah, sometimes I've had trouble finding it later, but if you just dig hard enough in your Zoom folders,
it's there eventually.
Yeah.
All right.
Or you could try to rename it right away so that you can find it right away. So
definitely.
Document. Oh yeah, John said look in documents /Zoom / It's a good place to start. Cool. And thank you for dropping your email in, Jose.
Yeah, anytime.
Great. All right, everyone. I think we covered most of the questions. And if Jose didn't answer them, it looks like a lot of you were super, super helpful in the chat about answering them. So thank you so much. That's always what we strive for, is that community kind of crowdsourced events as well. We bring Jose on as the expert, and then everyone else can add their expertise. And yes, the session is being recorded, and you should have the recording by the end of the week.
It'll be sent as a link in an email.
Yeah, we'll send a follow-up email.
Nice.
Which is really exciting. So thank you so much all. I am just going to close out with a couple of closing slides. Jose, this was such a great presentation, and I cannot wait to get to Puerto Rico. My Google Maps is filled with all of your recommendations. I'm so excited. Let me go ahead and I will finish sharing my screen. Okay, so like I said earlier, we have Nomadic Map Plus, which is a proprietary membership network. We've moved off of Patreon and onto our own. So this is a great place to join if you want TNN event replays. We have monthly giveaways now. We're giving out like flights and hostel and hotel stays, live Q&As with Matt himself, free signed books, free guides, and input on the content we create. So this is if you found this presentation valuable, I promise you will find joining the membership even more valuable, because you get more access to things and people and Matt himself, which is fun. So our upcoming events you'll see here, we have Seattle virtual happy hour coming up, how to travel gluten-free, Cambodian tuk-tuk adventure, which I've always wanted to do. That sounds so fun. November book club next Wednesday, November 3rd. Beyond Guilt Trips is the title of the book. You don't have to read the book even to join. You can just come and listen in. And then if you're in Los Angeles, like I am, we're doing in-person travel happy hour, but we also welcome you if you want to fly out to LA and come to it. And so I'm excited because our last in-person happy hour was last February 2020, literally 3 weeks before the world shut down. So we are going to meet in person again on a nice aired outdoor patio in this wonderful LA weather. So book club, like I said, next Wednesday, November 3rd, come and just enjoy the chat. You could have read the whole book 4 times, or you could read the first page of it, but Nomadic Matt and Dr. Anu will be chatting about Beyond Guilt Trips. And it wouldn't be the same if it was just myself and Jose talking about Puerto Rico. So thank you all for coming with all of your engaged questions, all of your stories, your recommendations. You guys really are what makes you people, you wonderful humans are what makes the Nomadic Network, the fun community it is today. Thank you for being here and supporting Jose. And we hope you get to connect with him. And we'll see you all next time. Thanks again for coming.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Thanks, Jose. Thank you so much.